Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Legal Late Night. We've got a show that promises to be at least mildly interesting. For my monologue, I'm discussing retention strategies for law firms. In the interview, it's Jonathon Fishman of LeanLaw. That's right. It's law firm financial management for the next 7 hours. That was a joke. In the counter program, we're playing Holidays on Holiday. Can Jonathon figure out which defunct holidays are real and which are fake? Can you? Now, let's talk about how to keep your best employees. The job market remains pretty tight for law firms these days. That means that the competition is fierce for lawyers, staff people, paralegals, admins. And so a lot of shit's going on, including poaching employees, lawyers from other law firms trying to find other attorneys or staff, reaching out to them directly, making them better offers, paying them over market. This is happening a lot on LinkedIn, where folks are reaching out through direct messages and not even using a recruiter, but just on their own, trying to grab people from other folks' law firms. Lots of hands in lots of cookie jars. Of course, law firm employers are still looking for talent in traditional ways too. So everybody's trying to get grabbed here. And, employees are more willing to move from job to job than they have ever been before. So you really got to watch your back when it comes to staffing up a law firm. Now, when I talk to most people about staffing up a firm, a lot of what they're focused on is, well, how do I hire the right people? But really, if you've already hired some good people, the bigger challenge is how do you keep those good people? And I think that's like more a challenge, frankly, than hiring people in the first place. Like trying to keep people onboarded who are great, like they become targets in a marketplace like this. So let's talk about how you protect your investment in your best people. What can you do to prevent them from leaving to the extent you can, assuming they don't want to just start a new business on their own, or they have like some kind of family issue or a medical reason that causes them to leave or move to another area. Let's assume that that's all square and you just want to keep them in the job by maintaining their interest in it. Well, here's the thing. I've got for you 7 tips on how to retain employees in a law firm. Here's number 1. Clear, transparent incentives. And I'll talk about this with Jonathon a little bit in the interview portion as well. Especially younger employees, they do not suffer the bullshit that has traditionally happened where people are just like, oh, we'll figure it out as we go along. Or I'm running the law firm on vibes. The younger employees are, the less likely they're going to have patience for you running your law firms on vibes, which is how every law firm has run ever. So I also think that transparent incentives are good for employers because it keeps the employers on track. And it also reduces the number of disputes you're going to see. Frankly, like if I have an issue with an employee, I'd rather be like, hey, I have this very specific issue which I can quantify, rather than saying something like, hey, I have this specific issue, but it's specific to me and it's very qualitative and I don't know how you feel about it. You got to have something to hang your criticisms on, and having a transparent incentive structure, that's really helpful if people aren't meeting incentives. But let's talk about the hopeful world in which people are meeting those incentives, because in theory, the people who are your good employees are going to be able to meet those incentives, not relatively easily, but effectively. In an environment like this, you've got the right incentives in place. You can create a performance culture, and then you can reward exceptional effort and achievements. And that's the way it should be. This is real world. This isn't like 4th grade soccer. There's no performance trophies here. Well, there's no participation trophies, I should say. There are definitely performance trophies, and they're large and golden. So how would you create an incentive program? Well, there's a whole host of ways to do it. A lot of law firms focused on revenue. So some will have hourly billing bonuses set up into tiers. usually. So I hit hour 1201 for the year through 1500. I get a certain percentage of any hours that are billed or collected. I move to 1501 to 1800. There's another tier. I get a higher percentage, so on and so forth. You know how that goes. That's pretty straightforward. And that works because there are a lot of hourly billing firms. Now, if you're not an hourly billing firm, there's a whole host of things you could do. You could bonus on projects on an hourly basis. You get people hour credits for the projects, or you could just figure out what project bonuses look like. And you could have project bonuses as well outside of just traditional legal work. You could have projects that people do for marketing the law firm or improving the administration of the law firm. I worked for Leap for a little while, which is a legal tech company that's still around and global in nature. And they used to have these top fives every quarter that you had to meet. So you have these 5 goals that you need to hit, and that's a portion of your compensation that worked effectively to raise their revenue significantly over time. You could also do a bonus structure and incentive structure around efficiency, kind of lean methodology, like how quickly do we move cases through the law firm and who is instrumental in making that happen. You got to be able to track that first. And again, we talked to Jonathon about that in the interview as well. See, people think I don't put this together in any kind of structural way. There's a method to my madness, folks. I promise, even if it's not clear most of the time. So I really like those efficiency bonuses because it's just a math equation as to how much money you can make in your law firm. Like the more cases you can move through your law firm quicker, the more revenue potential you have. Lastly, origination bonuses. Sometimes that's serious shit, like if somebody can actually bring in work, but a lot of time that's a bone you can throw to people who may not be the best originators in the world, but they have it available to them if they want to change their tune at some point down the line. So put that all together, put it in a bowl, mix it up, come out with something that works for you. But there are a whole host of incentive structure around finances, projects that you can build into your law firm that'll make people excited to continue to work for you. Now, here's the second part of the incentive structure, which I think is important, which is that you need regular incentives. So this is tip number 2. A lot of times, especially in big firms, people are waiting until the end of the year to get their bonuses. And they hang on and they hang on. And they're really pissed off that whole time because they're like, my law firm is holding me hostage. Yes, your law firm is holding you hostage. But also, your law firm is creating a cash flow problem for itself because you're going to have to hit up these crazy high bonuses at the end of the year. Whereas, especially in smaller firms, it's better to do weekly or monthly incentives where somebody hits the incentive and they get paid out. That is better for the employee, so they're happier, which is what we're going for here, because they get the immediate gratification. But it's also more helpful for the law firms, the owners of those law firms, because they can get the cash flow going more effectively because they're making those bonus payments more regularly. Instead of paying $120,000 at the end of the year, maybe you're paying $10,000 a month, which is a little bit easier to swallow. You don't have that big nut to crack at the end of the year. It's also easier to calculate because you're utilizing less data at that point. So the more frequently you can give out incentives, the better. Number 3, titles. Give people titles. Titles are bullshit. They mean absolutely nothing. If I wanted to, I could make up whatever fucking title I wanted to and have that be my job. And I could do that whether I own a business like I do or whether I work for somebody else if they're willing to give me that title. Here's the thing. Lawyers love stupid titles. They fucking love them. So if you can keep somebody happy by giving them a title that doesn't require you to offer equity, so non-equity partner would be an example, that is great. Non-equity partner, managing partner, chief legal officer, whatever the fuck, I don't care. As long as it's an appealing title to your employees, they'll stay happy, they'll stay engaged. The other thing here that I think is important is that those titles, while some of them may be bullshit, for the big ones like partner, you should have some clear promotional plan in place, meaning a partner track. And this is a big bugaboo with a lot of firms because, again, you've got these older attorneys who are running these firms and you've got younger attorneys who want transparency. So no older attorney wants to build out a partner track that they need to stick to, but younger attorneys, they all want a partner track to understand, how do I move forward in this business? How do I get to have a say and have a role and make some decisions? Well, there should be a program for that. That should be outlined. There should be specific things that they need to achieve. And again, the idea is we want exceptional performance here. This is not about just giving anybody a promotion. This is about giving the best people a promotion. And you have to stick to that. But if you can set up an environment wherein you're promoting your best people based on metrics that really drive the firm forward, you shouldn't have a problem. Not only should you have great employees working for you, but you should be able to maintain them in their place. All right. Number 4, professional development opportunities. Again, a lot of this is around like, what would I do to make younger employees happy because they're the ones who are going to need to move your business forward in the future and maybe even, I don't know, acquire the business from you at some point. So especially for those younger lawyers, those younger staff people, like in-person programming, virtual CLEs, conferences in fun places, travel perks, like that kind of thing is really valuable and can keep people invested in your law firm. But it's not just all about sending people to conferences and building their professional development that way. You can also have internal resources that folks can access. So I know a lot of law firms that will have like a law firm university, and they'll build it out on the internet and people can access that information whenever they want. Couple that asynchronous learning with real-time access to senior lawyers and partners who can provide feedback on what the younger attorneys are doing, and then you're in business. As you probably found, if you run a law firm, younger attorneys, they want feedback on a recurring basis. So build that out as part of your professional development. So when you've got a professional development program that you're trying to put into place in the law firm, you're looking at not only external opportunities, but also building out an internal backbone for that. That'll keep people happy. That'll keep people working on your team and not landing sidelong glances at other law firms. Grass is not always greener, especially when the grass at the current firm is pretty green. Yes, I'm talking about money. Number 5, marketing opportunities. So obviously, if you're going out and doing professional development, you're talking to other attorneys. But a great way to allow people on your team, both attorneys and staff, again, to feel like they're part of the group is to let them help with the marketing. That could help with an origination bonus if you have one available. That can be a backdoor to helping people understand profitability, which a lot of folks don't unless you're transparent about your financial data. More on that in a second. And this is also a great way to develop content for your law firm, which will help you to bring in more clients and potentially new hires, depending on how you lay it out. If your people are really happy to work for you and you can build out a what it's like to work here page on your website, then that's a great way to attract new hires. And those people may approach you directly. You might not even have to send out a job posting for somebody to reach out to you and say, hey, I want to work for the firm. They may just view that page, look like it's a cool place to work, come in and want to work for you. So think about how you might involve your whole team in marketing opportunities. So part of the idea here is not just about cash, right? We're not just giving people money. What we're trying to do is make people feel like they're involved and they're part of the team. I know when I worked for law firms when I was younger, I never felt like I was part of the team. I felt like I was always an outsider and I felt like people were making decisions around me. And if you're a younger attorney, it helps to feel like you're part of the mix. All right, 2 more things. Number 6, financial transparency. So I am a big advocate of financial transparency in a law firm. And I think it's about how you treat your staff because let's be honest, we're all big boys and big girls here. If you've worked for any length of time, you know what the deal is. You know there's a business hierarchy. You might not understand profitability, but you know that you have a place in that hierarchy and that everybody needs to do certain things to move the business forward. Again, even if you don't have a very specific idea about how the profitability works. Now, if you're someone who works for a law firm and you understand how the profitability works and you understand that there's a pathway in place to get you to a next step to advance in the organization, are you going to work more or less hard? Probably more hard. Harder? Harder. And then are you going to be as likely to move to another firm that may not have that transparency, that accessibility? Probably not. So if you're willing to put incentives in place, make your financial data transparent, and allow your people to feel like they're truly part of a team, it's going to be very hard to unlock someone from your law practice. Last thing, number 7, is flexibility. I know a lot of firms are moving to working in the office again. but working in the office sucks. As you can see, I have an office in Boston. I never go in there because I fucking hate going into the city. I'd rather work in my dining room, which is where you're seeing me right now and every time, for the most part, I come on this podcast. So if you can offer somebody who works for you flexibility as well, that's great. But to be able to do that, you also need to understand, well, these are the tools I need to promote that flexibility. This is a software I need to utilize in the firm. This is how I need to manage it. So there's a little bit of legwork on your side as well. But if you can do these 7 things, then you'll be able to retain employees at a higher clip than you may have previously. So here they are again. Clear, transparent incentives, regular incentives, titles that don't force you as a business owner to give up equity, professional development opportunities for your team, marketing opportunities for your team, financial transparency towards your team, and flexibility for the people who work for you. Do that stuff. You're far less likely to see your good staff people get poached. Next up, we're poaching Jonathon Fishman of LeanLaw, at least for this podcast interview. He's got a great set of tips for practicing law in a fiscally responsible way, both with respect to managing your client's money and your own. That's right. We're covering IOLTA, everybody's favorite topic. And we're also going to get all the way in on agentic AI, or at least a little bit of the way in, as one does. That's up next. Well, welcome back. Sadly, I've effectively run out of things to say, which is awkward because it's a podcast. So I'm going to take some time to learn American Sign Language, and I'm going to sign the rest of the podcast. Nah, I'm just fucking with you. That does sound amazing, but I don't think we have enough time for all that. So let's just get to our interview instead. Got a great guest today. That's Jonathon. All right, we're already starting. Our guest today is Jonathon Fishman. Jesus Christ. Sorry. Oh my God.
Do you want me to introduce myself?
Yeah, would you please? Evan, we should leave that in.
It'd be helpful if I just say to the world, I'm Jonathon Fishman.
Yes.
It's pretty straightforward. It's not
apparently not for me.
Yeah, not today. You said it was challenging to be Monday, but we'll just roll. I'm Jonathon Fishman to the world. I run a company called LeanLaw.
Very good. Thank you, Jonathon. Would you like to take over from here? Feel free to introduce yourself.
We ran an extensive conversation about hats, so we could just do a half hour on hats.
We have. So I guess we talked about this little pre-show. Like I've got my Cedar Rapids Colonel's hat on today, which I didn't even know until a couple minutes ago. So maybe I have a problem.
I think you should make sure that you clearly tell your audience what hat you're wearing, because I've watched multiple episodes and was very confused.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like we try to move it around a little bit. Like I try never to wear the same one twice. But Jonathon, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
I've done some stuff with Gary over at LeanLaw, and we've done some webinars in the past. So I'm glad to be able to have you on this show. You're CEO, co-founder at LeanLaw, and you're working out of Boise, Idaho. And I guess my question to that is why?
That's a good question. It's a longer backstory.
Give me the backstory. We got time.
I worked in. I was born in Michigan, went to college in Arizona, fell in love with California, spent 25 years between San Francisco and Los Angeles, all in early stage tech, typically mostly B2C.
Yeah.
I moved for lifestyle reasons to Boise, Idaho in 2009. My dad was in Ketchum and my stepsister was here, and I would roll through Boise to get to Ketchum, and I had a son going into kindergarten and another one right behind, a daughter. And I was like, this looked pretty good. But it was 2009 and it was a complete recession. And not only was that, it was the housing. There was a housing recession, which was doubly bad for the what we call the Greater Treasure Valley area. So as I began to network, and I'll kind of segue into why and how, as I began to network in the neighborhood, I was introduced to Gary Allen. That's the Gary you mentioned earlier, who's now a 40-year plus practicing land use attorney and had been practicing in Idaho. And we had different companies, and we were introduced by a mutual mentor. And I just thoroughly enjoyed working with Gary, and we were raising a little money. And one of the investors said, to me, is he in or out? He's got to be in. And there were some ties there. So I said, sure, let's join forces. And, Gary was the subject matter expert, and I had never done anything in legal.
Really?
So a lot of people will ask me, like, am I a lawyer? And no, I'm not a lawyer. I certainly talk to lawyers, know lawyers, and understand the profession. But, what's interesting about Boise and the why is that it was part of my own aspiration to have a certain lifestyle, but still have the ability to start a company, build a community, and have the economic opportunity that we had sought. So I kind of wanted my cake and eat it too.
That's cool. Yeah, I was kind of joking a little bit because I do know a lot of business people who live in the Boise area. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on out there.
It's changed a ton in the last 20 years, for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting that so what about a legal product appealed to you as somebody who was like not involved in the law? I'm always interested in that because lawyers, they have to do the law.
Yeah, it had little to do for me, and still with the fact that it's legal, although I've grown to love legal. And, on one of your previous episodes, the guys from Hona were talking about lawyers and how they never trained to they were talking customer service, but really the broader sense of how to run a business. And, what is pure joy for me is helping these law firms be better businesses.
Yeah.
And we work in small mid-market, right? So we love that 5 to 50. We go up to 100 and down to 1, but 5 to 50 is the sweet spot. And when you go up market, you lose the opportunity to engage with the principal stakeholders of the business, right? You're just talking to the cogs in the wheel.
Yeah.
And, when I sold and I talked to, for the years and years and years, I was knee deep in these law firms. And really what I was doing was creating trusted relationships with these principal owners and firm administrators. And that's what the joy is for me is, fellow small business owners and helping them be better. And when you get to put your platform out and they get to use your tech and you actually see transformation, that's just A+ stuff. So legal was cool because first I was super intimidated by lawyers.
Yeah.
And I think most people are. And
I think
had
so too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they don't. People are freaked out about lawyers, and rightfully so. But I had this sort of epiphany moment in dealing with a lawyer. It was a well-established trial attorney in Denver, and I'm selling them LeanLaw, and I'd gone through the lower ranks, and they're like, "Oh, you got to go meet with Dave." And I was like, "Okay." And I meet with David, and David's sitting in his office. We're on a Zoom meeting, and I realized, and I have this epiphany, like, David's deposing me. And I'm like, and I was feeling a little intimidated.
Such a lawyerly
right?
thing to do.
Well, because he's like, you had said previously that it did this, and now you're stating that. And I'm like, getting flustered. And then I realized, like, that's just how his brain works. Like, he doesn't know how to interact with me in any other way. And when I just flipped the switch and recognized, like, how his brain worked, that helped me, I don't create empathy maybe for him. Like that was David's ability is to dispose of. I can't imagine being David's child, like coming home late on a Thursday night.
Getting deposed because my homework's not done. No, that's a cool perspective though, I think. And now you've been in it for a while at this point. You said you've been in the legal industry for quite a bit.
Yeah, we've had, I think, 3 lives in LeanLaw. And candidly, all of us were not fully in the company.
Yeah.
Until like 2021, and we kind of had a we're in and we're out kind of moment, and with that, part of that was the leadership change, and I became the CEO in the latter part of 22, early 23, and it wasn't because Gary didn't do a good job. It was just, hey, we needed to move forward. We had to drive the company in a different direction, and so, it's been a very exciting 4 or 5 years that we've now, from that point where we all doubled down and committed to the business and raised some money and really have grown the company.
Yeah, I think, you've been in the tech space for a while. Like, pandemic rolled around and everybody was like, all of a sudden, oh, I guess we need like cloud software. We should probably make that a thing. So good time to get involved.
Yeah, that was
for sure.
That was a driver. But you'd be surprised at how many firms are still like not cloud-based, and even with the pandemic, they're doing stupid crap.
Sadly, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think. It's you were talking about AI, and it's all going to move much faster than any other technology. I will admit that, but when you get into the real heart and soul of small and mid market law, they are unbelievably slow to adopt. And my biggest competition, my biggest challenge in closing and growth is inertia and the status quo. It's not Clio or some other competitor.
Yeah,
it's
I was going to say
people.
Maybe
people doing
inertia
nothing.
and Excel spreadsheets. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've gone a little ways here, but I want to talk a little bit about LeanLaw. So if
Sure.
folks are listening and they haven't heard of the company before, like, what do you guys do?
So I think fundamentally we started with a very simple premise, and we want to help law firms be better businesses. And we stay true to that. There's been some other moments where we've had aspirational. We help law firms manage the full financial life cycle, how they onboard, time, fees, track those, how they draft, deliver, and collect on all their invoices and the full financial reporting. We kind of have three uniques in the world. One is we take a very integration mindset. So we never aspired to be a practice management tool. Rather, we wanted to narrowly focus on the firm's financials because we felt that was the most important workflow. Like if you swear in this podcast, so
you can swear on the podcast.
I noticed that. Like
here we go. Yes.
But if you muck up your financials, like everything downstream for that doesn't really matter.
Oh,
so
for
we
sure.
So we never wanted to reinvent what others did better than us. So our idea was to integrate. So you'll see QuickBooks is a strong integration for us. We have a payments partner in Confido with a strong integration. And recently we have NetDocs for document management. The second, focus was, our clients, our ICP, and we, as I mentioned earlier, love the small mid market. That 5 to 50 is wonderful. We grow up to about 100, 120 attorneys, and certainly have some of the larger ones on our platform and have lots of micros. But we do that, and so when clients come to us, they're really looking, saying, "I want a narrow financial tool because maybe I'm using a niche-specific practice management tool because I'm an intellectual property attorney, or I'm bigger and, a practice management tool is too clumsy and cumbersome and too light on the financials." And when I say financials, I mean the financial workflows, the dashboards for the lawyers to understand their productivity, the whole kit and caboodle.
The NetDocs thing is interesting to me because I know of a lot of larger firms that use them. And when you're selling to like mid-market firms, are people like, oh, I need to buy one software and other softwares, or are they more like, hey, this is great, I can integrate what I want with a system I like?
Well, respond back by saying sort of a theory I have, and then I'll come back to it. And I strongly believe that we're in what we call the fourth phase of legal tech, with the third phase being the cloud native platform.
Oh, I love this type of shit. Yes, go ahead, please.
So, and when I say that, Clio won. Clio just a home run company, right? They're a unicorn, $1 billion player. And they kind of muck up the whole environment because their marketing is so strong. Everyone has this idea of what good looks like, and it's really not good for a lot of users. And it's a great product, don't get me wrong. I don't want to disparage Clio. But when we talk about the fourth phase, when you think about the influx of all the investment capital that's gone into the markets, what you're seeing is niche-based tools, because the API architecture, the way that one software tool can talk to another through the internet, has modernized and matured, right? So you've got players like LeanLaw that say, hey, I'm going to ignore or not focus on all this broad set of tools, and I'm going to go in and narrowly focus on something I do really, really well. And so, NetDocs is a tool that does really, really well at what it does, and it goes down small market. I mean, their roots and energy is in smaller market, and they love that audience and sell a lot of small market. So, what we believe is that, especially as the boomers age out, which is happening now, and Gen X is, I'm 57.
Slowly but surely, yeah.
If Gen X is like me, take control, and you have a lot of pressure from millennials, is that there's this idea that we should pick the tools that we want to use, and those tools should be awesome at what they do. And the software vendors should make sure that the data flows properly. So when you onboard a client to LeanLaw today, that's queuing up QuickBooks, that's queuing up NetDocs, that's ready for your payments partner with our partner Confido. So we're facilitating that. When you add to it agentic AI, that just goes on steroids in terms of what the possibilities are.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead of it. I do want to talk about AI, but I don't want to do it right now.
Sure.
I want to get there. I have a pathway. I mean, we're talking on a Monday holiday. You're kind enough to come on. I've just about got my shit together now. I'm getting there. Let me ask you,
you're doing great. You're just doing great.
This is my first podcast.
Yeah, you're just doing great. Just keep up the good work. Keep going.
Let me ask you a little bit about the QuickBooks thing, because I find that really interesting. So you guys are deeply embedded with QuickBooks. You got a two-way sync. And now, what does that do in terms of talk generally, but also one of my interests is that's got to supercharge the reporting capabilities of a software like yours.
Yeah. So, you talked to Gary Allen again, and he and I early on had a very strong mantra, which is what can we integrate with, what can we automate, and what are the data opportunities. And the first personification that was into its QuickBooks. And, what we did is, it's one of our ICPs. We make it work for law firms, and we do it better than anyone in the industry. And I know that sounds like a CEO speak, but really I could talk about in bolts. So the first premise of all of what we do is that QuickBooks is the source of truth. It's a really important piece. At any time, a law firm or a back office accounting person or an outsourced accounting person can pull a P&L, a balance sheet, a statement of cash flows, and it will be 100% accurate all the time, every day, and that's a critical function for us. When you take reporting, what we do is extend the reporting of QuickBooks so that you have legal specific reporting. Like we do compensation tracking, and we do it better than I believe anyone in the industry. We do productivity tracking, all sorts of things, which takes collected revenue as a fundamental component of it, or build revenue, and then shapes it in a way that that law firms need to see it and understand it. Now, what's cool about QuickBooks and QuickBooks data is that we see the whole stream of QuickBooks data, so we can start to look at firm profitability, lawyer profitability, practice area profitability in a far more astute way, because historically we have this sort of disconnect for all QuickBooks users. The real overhead, the real cost is sitting over in QuickBooks, and then they sort of juxtapose some high level, not very insightful data, and they come up with a reporting. And then in the law practice side, they're looking at realization of really just, hey, what did we bill and what did we collect? And there's a whole set of other data that is very impactful on that process. So, the opportunity is we have a ton of data, whether it's from QuickBooks, LeanLaw, or from some other tools. The question and the challenge is always, how do you shape that data in a way that's meaningful to the end users and the stakeholders? Because I think one of the things that many people making software for law firms overstate is the sophistication and the capacity a stakeholder has in digesting data. Like, we get all geeked out thinking we're going to
none.
Yeah, tell me who owes me money and what I'm going to make. I mean,
right.
Really, it comes down to that. So we take a very we take a very mindful approach to how we're thinking about data and data presentation, because you can quickly overwhelm the end user. But having that full financial landscape of QuickBooks be exposed to LeanLaw creates a slew of opportunities.
Well, the compensation tracking thing is really interesting to me, because if you've got sophisticated users on a platform, that's something they need. So how do you accomplish that in system, or at least alongside QuickBooks? So
what's baffling to me is that, 2/3 of the whole industry is based on hail and door, the finder, minder, grinder. And these law firms struggle to track the most basic data. So we approach comp tracking. We early on, Fred, our CTO, and I were just talking to law firms. And that was a subject that kept coming up, like, hey, we need that. And what's tricky about it is about 8-9 of it is all uniform, but that last 10 to 15% is unique, and every lawyer in the world has their own crazy scheme that they're like, this is the best. So that's the tricky part. So
That is very true.
so we took an approach that said we didn't want to make it a report. What we want to do is thought about it's a feature and a function of the product. So it's all of the controls that you have in setting it up so that you can deal with some of those crazy scenarios at the firm level, the individual user level, and at the client level. How you can go into get real-time reporting on collected revenue and go all the way down to the details so that you get transparency. It's really important for trust because so much of comp tracking is done at black box. And that's really important for millennials because they just have no tolerance for black boxes. They're just, the whole idea of millennial and younger is that like, hey, we want to be transparent with the data. And then lastly,
which I love personally.
and then the last piece is the disbursement. How do you get the money out in a way that you can track it and make sense? So we have that full functionality built into our product. And it was one of the anchor components that we said we're going to double down and triple down to make an awesome comp tracking tool.
It's funny though. You're right. Like every lawyer's like, I got this brilliant incentive plan. And then I'm like, oh, this is like every other incentive plan I've ever heard. Sorry, everybody. So you've been at this for a little while. So what do you think are the most important financial metrics for a law firm? Like what should they be looking at on a recurring basis?
So I think about that in a different way than most. And it's something that we approach it. So we think a lot about revenue leakage. So there's productivity reports, there's compensation reports, there's WIP bill collected. Those are all really important things to look at, but that's basic blocking and tackling. But where law firms really underperform is this idea of revenue leakage. And you think of it in three buckets. One is getting time or getting time into the system and how time trackers just don't do it contemporaneously and how much money is left on the table. And how time now with AI should be used in any value-based pricing or fixed fee to help you understand, what was the effort that went into it. The second phase is from, time approved to delivery, which you would think is quick, but is not. And, there's constant, herding cats in law firms and the poor performing lawyers late, days and weeks, if not to get the invoices out. And then the last piece is revenue leakage. So when you take those three together, you're talking some firms lose 15 to 18% of their potential revenue just based on those three buckets. And what that speaks to is a lack of solid workflow and how they don't run their business as well. So we look at, contemporary time tracking. When are people putting the time into the system? Because that's an easy way to just uplift revenue. We look at time to approved invoice and delivery. Like that's a really important metric. And then lastly, collections. I have another strong opinion that law firms act like banks, and they lend their clients money on their WIP, and it's just
constantly. It's
just idiotic. They're not in the business to do that. Some other service provider does work. They don't, allow 30 to 60 days to say, it's okay, pay me when you can. I mean, there's empathetic moments where you need to help your people, and that's good to do that, but it's more a lack of discipline. And one of the solutions there are better tools to help your clients pay for it, whether it's credit cards or ACHs or buy now, pay later. There's lots of different instruments that are coming out so the law firm can be better positioned to collect.
That's good stuff, man. I love the focus on workflows. Sorely lacking. Let's do some big ticket items. Hourly billing, still the predominant way that law firms bill. Is that changing?
Yes, and no, and in certain types of. Well, first of all, I said, what's my biggest competitor? The status quo, and so I think a lot of law firms and a lot of lawyers will be very hesitant to switch to value-based pricing. Because of the fear of the unknown. How do they do it? How do they price it? AI might accelerate that. And there's certain types of law practices that there's so much uncertainty because there's an opposing counsel or there's some activity that it's very difficult to say, I can just bookmark this into it. But I do think that more and more lawyers will look to a component or a hybrid of value-based pricing and bring that as a relationship. I can tell you with my own law firm, the one that services LeanLaw, there's a tension because I know how much I know too much about the rates and what they bill. And
Right.
and now with the advent of AI, I'm making decisions. Is this worth it to go to my lawyer because I'm getting a pretty good answer with ChatGPT? And if the risk is low enough, I can avoid that. So there's a tension that the lawyers want a more trusted relationship, especially B2B. So value-based pricing can potentially overcome that. I also think that with AI driving so much workflow, that you're going to see a pressure on hourly billing because it's all being done for you. So can I still charge that hour? So the natural progression would be go to value-based pricing with overage, right? So I don't think everyone's going to go to value-based pricing. It's just going to be this wholesale uniform. But I do see, like my law firm might say, okay, I'm going to bill you $2,000 a month and you get all this. But under these circumstances, we'll do some overages. And, we have 2 AI time tracking tools built into LeanLaw partnerships, one with Billables AI and the other with Point One. And I use Billables just in my day-to-day work. And it's transformative, in terms of how much you can get captured in a fully automated way. So I don't think time tracking goes away. I think it changes and evolves, but I think AI certainly is going to commoditize how law firms think about how they offer their services to company, which creates an opportunity for a different type of relationship between lawyer and client.
That's interesting. I like the idea of it going hybrid first. That makes sense to me. Like that fits the risk-averse personality of lawyers.
Yeah, we built a lot of tools. So if it's a flat rate matter, you can add hours. If it's an hourly matter, you can add fixed rates. Because that's I don't think you get from here to there in a straight line.
Yeah, that flexibility is awesome. All right, let's hit another big topic: trust accounting.
Really?
You hear about a lot of softwares that let's do it. Do you not want to do it? Should we buy?
No, we'll talk about trust accounting.
You introduced yourself, so you just let me know what you want to talk about. I don't know. Like nobody wants to talk about trust accounting. Nobody wants to do it. A lot of softwares out there say they do trust accounting. They don't really. So if I'm a consumer, like what am I looking for from a vendor?
So let's go back and talk about trust accounting. The lawyers refrain from or worry about it because they think it's hard, and that's wrong. They just don't take 10 minutes to create proper workflow. So any lawyer listening to this, spend an hour, call me up. I'll tell you how to do it. It's not rocket science. But
it ain't that hard.
the missed opportunity, I think, with trust accounting is that when you go back to your basic business and you say, okay, cash flow, right? Lawyers should be using Evergreen retainers, and that is all driven by...
Preach, yes.
Yeah, that's all driven by your trust accounting. So trust accounting isn't rocket science if you have good tools, and lawyers should never be extending credit to clients and being in that situation. They should have the money, pay the bill from trust, and then ask for the trust money to be reimbursed. And if they did that, they will never have AR. And I'll give you an example. One of our probably our best performing firm on our platform is in the divorce space. And of course, that's a tenuous situation where cash is challenging, but they moved from an AR mindset where they'd send bills to 100% retainer-based engagement with replenishment. And we facilitated that full financial life cycle. So it's all automated and they're 100% electronic. There's no checks and everything is ACH or credit card. And they put $1 million of cash in their pocket on an annual basis and have zero AR. Think about the back office team having more cash and no AR. And that's all because they facilitated a smart workflow around trust accounting. And LeanLaw powers that entire process. So there's some really good business sense to do it. And it's just not as hard as it can be for that. So I
agree.
That's my thing.
That was great. I'm standing on the same soapbox. Evergreen retainers. Awesome. Most attorneys will not do it because they don't want to engage the trust accounting. All right, we've been talking a little bit back and forth on this, so let's do it. I save it for last so people will continue to listen.
Yeah, let's do it.
Show AI. I guess we're going to have to talk about AI. What are your thoughts generally on where this goes in terms of law firm finances?
Well,
it's already going places. I know.
I have to give an anecdote before I do that. You were talking to one of your other I think that the Hona guys, and you're like, oh, I'm sick of AI. It's been like, you said this, I'm like sick of it. And
I'm
just
so tired
the other day,
of it.
I was sitting in the grocery store and I was watching this guy check out, and looked like a wonderful older man. He wasn't that old. And I'm like, what does that guy know about AI? Like, wouldn't that be nice to just be able to ignore the whole damn thing and move on your life?
Tell me about it.
Anyways,
is the end of that antidote him whipping out his smartphone and talking to ChatGPT?
Exactly. That's what I was doing when I'm looking at him. I think that I think about AI in three buckets, at least for LeanLaw. I think the obvious that everyone's doing, and there's not rocket science, is using AI to understand what's happened or what's going to happen for law firm insights. And I think that's obvious and easy. We have structured data. That's not hard. I also think number two is agentic opportunities. We've rebuilt our whole API architecture to be secure and have essentially, I always call them the idea of having the freight, what are they called? The freight boxes.
Oh, yeah.
What are they called? Oh gosh, it kills my analogy. But anyways, it'll come back to me.
Doing well.
But what we believe, because we are a stern, believer in best in class, is that, agents should be able to come into LeanLaw and grab financial data on behalf of it and pass it back over, so you have a broader set of insights in a different tool. And so agentic AI is going to be important for us, and that may help facilitate integrations, that may facilitate workflow, or it might facilitate data. But I think it's super critical, and we're going to take a very different approach than I think the rest of the market in saying, hey, we're open for business, and we have this cool API layer, and we think that the ISVs of the world, the Affinities and some of these people, 3545s, the tech consultants that are in the marketplace, these are going to be great tools for them to have deeper and stronger relationships with the client. So I think that's number two, is agentic behavior. But the third, what we're really excited about, is because we look at QuickBooks data and because we see all of the WIP data, shipping containers. That's what they are. Little shipping containers that go through. Think about it as agents. They'll have to be organized. Anyways.
We'll edit this so it makes it sound seamless.
The third area, which I think is really the most interesting for LeanLaw, is that we have a strong belief that we'll see a modernization of financial services that is vertically specific. So let me translate that. Right now, if you think about banks and other payment center, everything is very horizontal. It's one solution, and we apply it to all these different things. You go in your bank and either business or consumer. And there's a lot of movement around the verticalization of financial services. So, you have banks that will be legal specific, payments that will be legal specific. And where this gets supercharged is that when you look at the data that LeanLaw has, and we then have this agentic API architecture that's then available, you see some very powerful opportunities for underwriting and insights. So looking at a particular matter and saying, hey, if you allow them to bill with an ACH, you'll get paid this much faster. Get over your damn bias, right? Hey, here you have this big case you just took on, and we think this expense is, here is a potential loan. You've heard the folks from 8am talking about that. So having that data, structured data, and then thinking of the verticalization of software services, you have a lot of financial entities that are very attractive to bank or to legal. And, we're a tiny little company, and our clients are collecting over $1 billion on an annualized basis. We're almost at $1.2 billion. And so there's a lot of people who are feverish to say, boy, that's a lot of cash and transactional activity to facilitate, and then all the derivatives of that. So that's the third use that we think. So insights, agentic behavior, and then lastly, we think for financial services, it'll play a major factor.
That's awesome. I like the approach. Okay. Last question for you. Everybody's aware that this shit is happening. AI is a thing. Do you find that your clients are actually asking about it, want to use it? Are they doing stuff in the space yet?
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
Same, by the way.
I'd like to say yes, but the answer is no. And even when I presented, it was funny, I presented something to my attorney that I'd use ChatGPT to redo something, and they're like, well, I don't really care about that so much. I think they'll be pulled into it. And certainly younger attorneys. Like, I mean, we interviewed one attorney who was a little bit younger, and he was all over like AI is really critical, and he was really excited to hear about LeanLaw. Like, others aren't. I think there's still inertia and unknown, and I do feel like the lawyers are overwhelmed. I call it all of the lawyering that they're doing with AI. I think they're overwhelmed with that in trying to understand that piece of it. So to think about it from a financial perspective, they're like, we don't care. Because they believe they're making a lot of cash and being very efficient. But I think it will move fast for them, especially when we see a really excellent use case like AI time tracking. So that's like a no-brainer once you get into those kinds of things. So, but it's not like every day we have people knocking on the door saying, "I want my AI insights tool." But it'll
maybe
happen
by 2030, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we have to, but it's our jobs as software people to help, whether it's through product-led growth or other tactics to help them get there, right? I mean, they're lawyers. They don't know about this crap. Right? So we have to coach and prod so we can upsell them. I mean, that's our whole goal, right? We want to upsell them AI.
Totally fair. My expectation is not that lawyers have deep knowledge of AI, not even close.
Anyways, that's my AI stuff.
Thank you, Jonathon. This is fun. I appreciate you coming on. Will you hang around for one last segment?
Sure. Yeah. Happy to.
All right. We're getting to it next, and we're on holiday.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Welcome back, everybody. That's right. It's the Counter Program. It's a podcast within a podcast. This is a conversational space where we can address usually unrelated topics that I want to explore at a greater depth with my guests. Expect no rhyme and very little reason. Jonathon, welcome back. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you. I'm excited for the counter programming.
I really enjoyed the interview, so hopefully you won't regret coming on after this. So
good.
We're recording this on Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm not sure what you call it anymore. And my general confusion has led to the creation of a fun game for us to play. I'm calling it Holidays on Holiday.
Holidays on
Holiday. It's very simple
to
play. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to name a defunct holiday, and all you have to tell me is whether it's a real holiday or if I've totally made it up.
Okay. Can I use?
Are you ready?
Can I use AI or any other instruments? No, I'm kidding.
You could.
No,
go for it. I've actually had people like Google and use AI before, but one of the reasons I like having like lawyers and people involved in the legal industry on this show is that they really try to figure it out. It's great.
That's the cool thing about lawyers is they're seriously inquisitive people. They are genuinely inquisitive people. Yeah. Okay. So holiday or not a holiday?
All right, here we go. The first holiday, I'm going to name it. I'm going to give you a little description. It's called the Festival of the Whispering Wax. The Festival of the Whispering Wax from medieval Europe. This is a
Did you say wax, like W-A-X?
Wax. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right, we're off to a good start. A defunct medieval Christian observance from the Bavarian region, typically held just before spring planting season. It was dedicated to ensuring a bountiful harvest and protecting the community from crop blight. Townspeople would be required to donate a small personal object to the local church. The priest would then melt all the donations together with beeswax to create a large communal candle. And on the night of the festival, the villagers would whisper into the wax all of their fears, worries, and regrets. And then the belief was that the melted wax would absorb all negative spoken energy before it hardened. At that point, the tainted candle was buried in the town square. Is this a real holiday?
It's a hell of a description. So right now, it's interesting because right now it's Sukkot. I'm Jewish, and it's the fall festival, right? So the whole logic pattern of it's fall and we're doing something communal to understand, hey, let's try to get some good stuff going so we don't have a shitty crop. That's good. I like the logic of the coming together in the one candle. So that made sense because small little towns. The only thing that's throwing me to say it's not real, so because it seems really logical, is that it doesn't have any religious roots. So if it's some defunct holiday, I sort of think, well, you would have said it was a Christian or Catholic or some other root, and versus a company. But that's my tension here. Like the logic works, but I didn't hear anything religious, so I'm going to say it's not a holiday.
Oh man, very nice analysis. You sure you're not a lawyer?
I'm not a lawyer. Am I right or wrong?
Fake holiday. Yes, totally.
Fake holiday. I got it. All right. Good analysis.
With a little help from Google Gemini on the description. Well done. All right. So bring that same level of analysis to the next one. I got another one for you. Here's number 2. The Festival of the Supreme Being, France, 1700s. This was the brainchild of Maximilien Robespierre during the French Revolution's reign of terror. It was an attempt to create a new state-sponsored deist religion to replace Catholicism. The main celebration in Paris involved Robespierre dressed in a sky blue coat, personally leading a procession up an artificial mountain built in the Champ de Mars, where a giant flammable statue representing atheism was theatrically burned to reveal another statue of wisdom. This only took place once, as Robespierre was arrested shortly thereafter. The Festival of the Supreme Being in 1700s France, real or fake?
Okay, so following my same logic, what I liked about this one is you had I don't know if that person's real or fake, but they sound real. So you had a strong foundation that someone would think about it. You're talking 1700s where there was, lots of propaganda. So there was, okay, let's undo a religion with a new religion and let's manipulate the people. So there's a very extravagant process that you would go through. So this one feels more real to me. So I'm going to go with real.
Correct. 2 for 2.
2 for 2.
Crushing
2 for
that.
2. 2 for 2.
Robespierre, yes, a real dude. All right, this is impressive. All right, let's get to 3. Let's see if we can keep it up. Old Clem's Night. Old Clem's Night from the United States. This holiday essentially died off at the beginning of the 20th century. But St. Clement's Day, Old Clem's Night, which was November 23rd, formally celebrated Pope Clement I, the patron saint of blacksmiths. The night began with the ritual firing of the anvil, a proto-fireworks display generated by packing gunpowder into anvils and then hammering away at them like a madman. Seems dangerous. The night continued with plenty of singing and drinking, but also a Halloween-like ritual where the blacksmiths would dress up like old Clem and knock on doors begging for beer. It's basically blacksmith Halloween, but drunken blacksmith Halloween.
Yeah, so
Old Clem's Night. Real or fake?
So I like the idea of drinking and then getting a sledgehammer. I think that's always fun.
Me too.
Right? Like that. And then what feels very authentic is the idea of going house to house begging for beer. That seems authentic.
Yes.
I'm stumped on this one. I don't have a clear idea. My inclination is, you can hear my indecision. I started with thinking, it's real because there's a date and maybe that sounds like a saint and I'm not sure. I'm going to say not a holiday.
Oh, your streak is ruined. This is actually a real holiday.
You always are supposed to go with your first instinct, right? And then I started thinking, I just lost Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because I didn't go with my first instinct.
Well, we didn't give you the ability to call a friend or anything like that, so that's our bad. And we also have no prizes, unfortunately. Just our undying respect for our guests.
Yes, it's a prize. It's a prize to be on your show and spend time with you.
Oh, good. Evan, clip that. All right, I got 2 more for you.
Oh, okay. We keep going.
We're going to keep going. The Rite of the Seven Silences. The Rite of the Seven Silences from 17th century Scotland. A short-lived folk ritual that emerged from isolated fishing communities intending to ensure the safety of men at sea during stormy weather. For 7 consecutive sunrises, all the married women of the community were required to attend a morning gathering on the beach. During that time, they had to remain absolutely and completely silent To prevent any accidental speech, the women would carry large, smooth river stones in their mouths for the entire duration of the ritual. The silence was believed to create a spiritual quiet spot that the harsh winds and waves could not reach, thus protecting their husbands' ships. If a woman dropped the stone or made a sound, it was believed that she was the one who had summoned a squall. So, the rite of the 7 silences, real or imagined?
All right. So stones in women's mouths at sunrise. I mean, 1700s, you said?
1700s, 17th century Scotland.
1600s Scotland. Well, who the heck knows what they did back then? So
Correct.
What I'd like the idea of the theme of it, okay, we're doing some crazy rituals to protect the people. So that part of it seems accurate. The idea that they put it in the women and the women were responsible, I'm going to say that is not a holiday.
Not a holiday. Correct.
Yeah.
You're killing it here.
No,
So
I missed the one. I should have gone with the, I'm hung up on the last one.
That's because you're a competitor, but this is a pretty good score.
As you can see, I'm a little competitive.
Let's do one more. I'm having fun. I might, okay, here we go. I might mispronounce this one. Guil Mavsin. Guil Mavsin, which is a Welsh holiday. Obviously, I don't speak Welsh. The Welsh holiday celebrates a local parish saint, but hasn't been celebrated since the end of the 19th century. It sounds like a blast with highly unorthodox athletic competitions, such as blindfolded wheelbarrow racing, a squash-like game played against church walls, and something called old women's grinning matches. Yes, I have no idea what that is either. No one does. There was also football, bando, a field hockey-like game, and a little bit of cockfighting thrown into the mix. The mix of alcohol, gambling, and crazy games gave the holiday a bad reputation, ultimately getting it shut down by more mainstream religious leaders. Guil Mavsin, a Welsh holiday, which is real or fake?
Well, the idea of crazy Welsh holidays makes sense to me, right? But what's throwing me is wheelbarrow racing. You said 1700s?
No, I didn't put a time frame on. Oh, 19th century. 19th century
1800s.
was the last time it was celebrated.
So they could have a wheelbarrow by then. Okay, so there's wheelbarrowing. There's old women face competition.
It's called grinning matches, which
grinning.
I don't know.
So we just
do you have the best grin, the most sadistic grin?
We have to grin at each other.
I don't know. Apparently.
My instinct is that it's not a real holiday.
Oh, all right. It's real.
Drew?
Actually, a real holiday.
Oh, yep. Damn it. All right. What do I get? I got 3 out of 5?
I think you got 4 out of 6, which is pretty good if we're talking batting average.
I'd win the World Series.
You would win the World Series. You'd win a batting title. We'll have to have you back on to do more real and fake holidays.
I am. Yes. Oh,
until you get 100%.
Yeah, let's keep going until I get 100%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice my grinning competition. I'm going to walk around and compete with people on grinning, freak them out.
I mean, you never know when there's going to be a grinning competition that breaks out. So I think that's a safe bet on your part. Thank you for coming on. I had a blast.
Yeah, thanks you. Nice talking to you.
Thanks to our guest, Jonathon Fishman of LeanLaw. To learn more about Jonathon and LeanLaw, visit leanlaw.co. Oh, that's a twist ending. leanlaw.co.co. Just remember that. Don't type in leanlaw.com. Type in leanlaw.co. Check them out. Now, because I'll always be a 90s kid who still can't tell the difference between Simple Plan and Sum 41, but whose true passion is burning CDs for anyone who would listen, I'm now just doing the modern version of that, which is creating Spotify playlists for every podcast episode that I record, where the songs are tangentially related to an episode topic. This week's playlist is Out of the Office. The playlist is, not me. That's right. It's Vacation Tracks, and it's sponsored by Winnebago Campers, which my mom would stop telling me to buy a Winnebago. Mom, if you're listening, I do not want one. No, wait. It's not sponsored by Winnebago Campers because I don't live in a fucking car. Join us next time when I finally come to understand what imaginary numbers are. Nah, that ain't fucking happening. Talk to you then.